Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Caitlin, and today I'm sharing with you a card that was inspired by this week's Craft Roulette challenge. So it was meant to be a best friend card, so I pulled out my Coffweeze stamp set from Sweet November Stamps. They're my favorite besties. It was a congratulations and an add leaves. So I used this emboss and cut folder, and then this little congratulations sentiment from Spellbinders, and then the color scheme was actually hummingbird colors. So you know I found a fall colored hummingbird. This is a Rufus hummingbird, and it is the perfect color combination. So this card is a little more fall than Halloween, but because we're officially in the fall season now, it's a day after fall started, I decided it still fit in perfectly with this series. So I started out by trimming down 2 pieces of white cardstock. One is a full A2, so 5.5 by 4.25. Then I cut that orange plaid, but we're not going to end up using that because the pattern was just too much with everything else I had going on. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with these leaves in the beginning. So I'll use that pattern for something else, I'm sure. To color the smallest panel, I'm going in with this mica spray stain. It's so beautiful. It's the mulled cider. And I went in with a little bit of water. I did try to be mindful to not put too much water because this is not watercolor cardstock. This is just regular Pink and Maine Ice Rink 110 pound. So I did dry it quickly with my embossing heat gun, just keeping the heater moving so I didn't scorch my paper. But that helped to make sure that it didn't get super warped. I did end up also putting it flat. This is when I could tell that pattern was not going to work, and I wasn't loving the craft either. So I figured I would just wait and see how the leaves turned out and how everything was looking before I committed to what that little frame was going to be around the outer edges. So for my leaves, I love this embossing folder because it embosses and cuts those 4 leaves all at once. I'm only using 2 of the leaves, and this larger one I'm working on now, I just cut twice. And I'm going in with aged mahogany, let's see, Crackling, Campfire, forest moss, and I believe fossilized amber. Those are my main colors. I grabbed that gathered twigs, but I didn't use it. So it's really just the orange, yellow, red, and green, and I'm just blending 3 colors each for those leaves and then trimming off the little stem because I did not need them. My scene's going to kind of cover where they all meet in the middle. But I love how these turned out. These would have just been beautiful even on their own. I do love how they look kind of peeking over the edge around the little scene we're going to make. But once I had them colored, it all clicked, and I grabbed this craft cardstock that's coated on one side from Tim Holtz. I've had it for a year or 2 now, but I love it. If I can find it, I'll link it down in the description for you guys. It's just all these warm toned papers, and the other side is craft instead of white. And it just was perfect. So I added some tape runner and some liquid glue because I said my warping was minimal, but there was definitely still some. So once I got that attached, this was when I put the whole thing into a book and laid it nice and flat and put, I think a mirror, something heavy on top of it. For my sentiment, I decided to go in with Catherine Pooler's terracotta ink. It was the perfect orangey color. And on my practice stamp, this ink is very juicy, and it over saturated that stamp. So I decided to go in with a foam blender and just kind of pounce my ink onto the cardstock, onto the stamp, and then press it on the cardstock, and it was perfect. So if you ever are dealing with an ink pad that's a little too juicy, that's my recommendation, is to use some kind of ink blender or even a blending brush, and just pat your color onto it. So these are my little besties that I picked from that Coffee's stamp set. They're just so stinking cute. And I'm going to be going in with my Copic sketch markers to color this in. I wanted to stick with colors that were either neutral or matched the other colors that we used on those leaves. With Craft Roulette, the parameters that you're given are chosen at random with a spin of the wheel. So each category has, I think it's either between 20 and 25 possible selections. And then so they spin 4 times. You get one thing out of each category. So like I said, this was the type of card was a congratulations card. The color scheme was hummingbird. The topic was best friend. And then the extra was the add leaves. So sometimes the wheel gives you a really crazy combinations that can be more of a challenge, where this combination was so inspiring and like easy. It just clicked for me. I knew exactly what I wanted to use as soon as I read what they were. And Craft Roulette is on every Friday night. It's a live card making show. Lots of amazing people have been on it, including myself, I'm happy to say. And I can't, as far as I know, share the exact date, but I will be on again before the end of the year. So I'm starting to pay more attention again. I watch them off and on, but I haven't been great about participating lately. So I'm trying to get back into the groove and start practicing again. So yeah, this is my first time back in a while, but I just love how this one turned out. I went with a cream shirt and some army green pants for the little girl on the left. And then the one on the right has an orange, like a really deep pumpkin orange shirt with her jeans. She's going to have some dark brown hair. I did my like favorite brunette color combo, E49, 59, 57. We're going to bring in a couple little pops of red and that kind of golden yellow as well. The one thing I will tell you that I don't know how I feel about on this card is the mushrooms. The thing is, I colored the ribbon in her hair red, and then I realized that if I colored the mushrooms red, that would just be so much red and we'd lose the ribbon. So I decided to go with gray mushrooms with red spots, and I don't dislike them, but I just don't love them. So I probably should have thought that out better and given the orange shirt girl like the more golden ribbon and put the red on the blonde maybe. I don't know. For my blonde combo, I went with something definitely more of like an ashy kind of blonde. Definitely not using any like bold yellows. I went with some E40s and I lost a little of my definition. So I went back in with that E44 one more time just to kind of bring back some of that texture. And I love how that turned out for her. Their skin combination is going to be the exact same. We're going E04 for both and then E11 and E00. That's just because those are the markers that I have, you know. I've seen other people do like E000. I don't have that. But yeah, these are just so cute. This loosely resembles me and my best friend, but that wasn't necessarily the intention behind it when I was coloring. I think it was just a subconscious decision. What else? I hope you guys are having a great start to your fall. It is officially fall time. And I've been in the fall mood since about July 5th. I hope that you guys are enjoying all of these fall and Halloween videos. I have a huge list. I don't know how I'm possibly going to get to everything on my list, to be honest with you. I will not be stopping Halloween cards until Halloween, but I do have to warn you that I know now already that some Christmas is going to sneak in there. As much as that's not my favorite thing. Christmas releases start coming out in October, guys. It's just the reality of crafting, right? We're always like a season ahead, always a holiday ahead. But I'm going to hold on to Halloween fighting tooth and nail. So, I decided to bring in some warm grays for these little rocks and stones. The log, we're going to go in with some warm browns. This grass, I'm pulling in more of those YGs that I used on her pants. Not to make it match, but just so that everything kind of goes and works together. And the only place I'm carrying my color outside of the lines is across this bottom section. I'm going to create a little grass line the whole way across, and that's going to just help to ground our little scene when we fussy cut it out to add it onto the card. Everything else is going to have a tiny white border, and then the bottom is not. It's just going to have that green stripe. And I really love how that does help ground it and make it look like it's not just floating in space, that it is an actual little scene and everything else is kind of blooming up around it. Like I said, for the log, we're going in with E20s. Not always my go-to brown, but I do love it for fall. I just think it's so beautiful. A lot of them have like chocolate in the name or like yummy vibes to the names of them. And I feel like that's pretty accurate. Like it's a very kind of creamy chocolate brown. So the next thing is going to be those mushrooms. You tell me, leave me a comment down below. What color would you have done the mushrooms at this point with everything else going on? Like now that I'm looking at it, I feel like I should have just gone for the red, but it's too late now. Like I said, I don't hate them. They're just not my favorite mushrooms I've ever made. So that's okay. The next thing we're going to do is going to be to fussy cut this little scene out. I did leave a little white border just so I wasn't driving myself crazy. And then I took my little panels out from their book. I did attach this sentiment strip directly on, and I knew going into this that I was going to like have it go right to the white edge, and when I attached it, it went off the edge on the other side. So cutting it was not fun. I trimmed that part out. I lined up all of my elements over the sentiment where I wanted them to be, and then I taped them together with washi tape across the front. This just helps to make sure that everything stays where you want it, and it's so much easier to assemble. So now from the back side with them all attached, I can just go in with my liquid glue and add it to the 3 leaves to start with. I also added a little dot of glue between the leaves to help hold them together. And then I can just use the whole thing as one solid piece to make sure that everything is lined up nicely in the middle. Then I can gently peel my washi tape off and add some foam tape to my little scene here. And that'll get popped up right in the middle of those leaves. And then the last step I decided was to add some sparkle. There was a little shimmer going on with that mica spray, but I covered up so much of it that I wanted to bring in a little more. So I grabbed the autumn leaves mix from This Calls for Confetti. I like that it has some red and gold and orange, and I could kind of play with all of the different shades in those leaves. So this is my card all finished. I hope that you enjoy it and it gives you the cozy vibes and feels. And I will see you back here very soon with another Halloween card. Until next time, guys, thank you so much and happy crafting.